Good job.
You're live, Mr. Chair.
Live, thank you very much. I'll call the October 28th meeting of the Public Works and Urban Beautification Committee to order. First of all, we'll call for declarations of conflict of interest. Anybody find themselves,
See none?
according to the agenda, in conflict of interest? Everybody's okay? Could I have the approval of the agenda in your package?
Sure.
You have a question, Alana, or
No, I
you're
was just
moving?
moving it.
Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Ramsey.
Could I add something?
Discussion?
Under, if not reports, under new business,
Yeah,
it's the new entrance into UPEI.
yeah,
Just an update on that.
yeah. I can tell you the pylons are still there.
No,
Bottom
they're
left
on.
over.
This morning they weren't. Were they?
They're not last night.
Oh, were they? Okay. I have a mover and a seconder for the agenda. All those, discussion's been held. All those in favor? All those opposed? Passed. Moving on to the adoption of the minutes. We have minutes of September 22nd, 2020. Chance to peruse those. Do I have a mover of the minutes? Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that,
Do I take that call? Sounds like a pretty good. He's there.
that the minutes of September 22nd are approved. Those in favor? All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Moving on to business arising from the previous minutes. Any minute, anything? Nope. How about the AVL tender? Scott?
Thank you. I just put bullet points A and B here just as there's been questions in previous committee meetings. The AVL tender is now up for finance, so we should be going out, I believe, today or tomorrow, and that will be for public tendering and close within 2 weeks from posting. So
What's
that's
the AVL, Scott? What's the AVL?
oh, sorry, the GPS tracking system
Oh, yes, okay.
on our fleet.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then point B, the city entrance signs. So we've looked at those. Unfortunately, I don't think we've been able to get the number. Our superintendent that was looking after is on vacation this week, correct, Joey?
Yes.
So we are unable to get the number, but we've been looking at it. We'd like these signs to be on. We're looking at it and would like to prefer to put them on steel posts, just because of the size of them. They're quite big. They're 4 by 12 feet long. So the steel post, and they would have to be precast bases. It's a little bit of work to get that all done, and so the goal would be over the winter months we will develop that plan, order all the materials, so that in spring when our crew that does a lot of new installs comes back on for the seasonal work, they'll have all that work ready to go, and that's the first thing in spring for them to get at. So that'd be the goal for all new entrance signs.
So just for greater clarity, can we get an understanding of what council's expectations of how many of those are going to be placed on every road into the city, or just main roads? Can you just make sure we're clear on those points?
Is it 6?
Well, that was one question that we were going to be coming once we go to budget time. Once we figure out how much each install costs, we were going to look at making a recommendation from staff, as we typically do on the locations of it. We haven't, from staff point, we haven't looked at all the number of locations that we could put them on, because there's always obviously some land issues that may arise because they are such a large sign, so we may be limited on locations that we can put them. So that will be part of the review once we start putting budgetary numbers and go into the budgeting process to meet with council, committee and council to determine all the site locations and how much money we'll need for these locations.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes. Councillor Mayor Brown.
So it's been going on since August, because we had to go through human resources, and it had to come over to this committee. Then we couldn't find the money, and then now we're looking at maybe next year. Now the size of the sign is going to be an issue, and where we're going to put them. How about we identify where we're going to put them, and then make the signage to fit the site, so they don't all have to be 4 by 12.
So we don't want to be that bed of Procrustes then, metaphorically
What's that?
speaking. We don't want to be the bed of Procrustes, metaphorically speaking. You don't want to be the guy that builds the beds and stretches the.
No, High Street,
beds.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, so you want.
You know, I know 5 cents right now.
Mhm.
You got Capitol Drive,
Yep.
you have Lower Malpeck Road,
Mhm.
you have Malpeck Road,
Mhm.
you have
Rockley Point Road.
Rockley Point Road, you have St. Peter's Road, and guess what? Don't worry about the bridge because it's a big, big one down, right down by the park.
So what is that, 6? 6 we have?
Yeah. Those are, and I know the one at M&M Furniture, 4x12. I know it won't hide that big blue building, but that's a big sign for that area. Again, 4x12s could fit out there in Capitol Drive, out there in the middle of the field. Then somebody would be able to actually see the sign. Because the sign that's out there now, you know, if you don't have your glasses on, you won't see it.
It's not like ladies' nylon's not one size fits all.
That's not true.
That's not, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's what I want. But you know what I'm saying? Let's identify the places,
Sure.
the sites.
That sounds like a practical idea to me.
You know, and then we could save some money. We don't need the big signage.
Yeah.
But big.
So we're just replacing the signage that is there, correct?
So as of right now, the main wall.
Like I'm doing with this committee.
Yeah, correct. There's the main one at the Hillsborough Bridge, which is the big one encased in brick and all that good stuff. There is the one that's on Capitol Drive that you're aware of.
It's on Candlelands.
Yes, yeah, it's on, the parkland, private property there.
It's on the Upland Park.
Yes, correct, thank you. And I believe there is one, there are a couple more around, I believe.
There's one out in Winslow.
Yeah,
Coming in on the
Correct,
Malpeck
yeah.
Road. There's one in St. Peter's Road, which is M&M Furniture.
is that one still there? I don't
Yes,
recall
it
that
is.
one
It's still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
want, are we trying to get them uniform so they're all the same size? Or do we
Well,
want to have
four-
mishmash?
4x12, you're not gonna fit that in Malpeck Road.
No, that's my point.
4x12,
So
so
one,
you'd have to go with a smaller version.
And so what we'll have to do is we'll have to take this back, have staff look at each individual site, see how much right of way that we have, see who's neighboring properties, see if it's possible for that we could even enter an easement. So there's a lot of logistics that we'll have to look at and see. So we can take that back and look at how much space we have at each site location and then bring back recommendations.
Is the purpose of the signs to say that you're now entering Charlottetown where our boundaries are? Is that basically what it is?
That's what it is. It's a boundary issue.
Yeah.
Welcome to Canada.
What's that? What's that, sorry?
Welcome to Canada.
Okay, can you take it back to the department?
Chair.
Scott? Yes.
Can I ask you, acting chair,
She's vice chair.
question? So, your worship, you were saying that instead of getting into an easements and who owns what land, just working within the land and the confines that we already have and be able to identify how big the sign could be in each of the areas. So we don't have to get into asking neighbors permission to get on the land, we just use what we have, so some would be bigger and some would be smaller.
I will note though, some of those locations such as Malpeck Road and St. Peter's Road, the city doesn't actually own very much land out there. Those are private, or those are provincial right-of-ways. So we still would have to enter into easements if they're not already there for some of these signs, correct?
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah.
the only reason I ask about the size, worship, is how you install. So if they're 4x12s and he's talking about putting them on aluminum poles, you're not gonna put a 4x6 on an aluminum pole.
No, wooden poles.
So we don't, do you want some with aluminum poles and some with telespar or posts? or-
We're trying
That's what I
to
thought.
standardize for everywhere that we can. If
Yeah.
there's a smaller site, then we have to deal with that site.
Yeah.
And you can use those aluminum poles for smaller signage, because you use it in campaigns. You use 4x8s and the.
Yeah, no, I'm talking, when he's talking about the big one for the 4x12, we're talking about the round aluminum poles like you see for overhead lights, only they're cut off, made just for signs and capped. So if you're looking at putting those at one entrance and then telespar at another entrance, and, you know what I mean, I don't know where we're going, if we want to be uniform.
Should be uniform. Yeah, I'd say use telespars for all of them.
Well, those 4x12s though, they would act like a kite essentially. That's a very large sign, very large surface area, so you're getting into structurally to make sure it stays upright for a long period of time, likely gonna wanna get into the aluminum poles. It's just such a big sign. 4x8 would be your maximum to try to use a 6x6 wooden post in the ground. Once you start getting bigger than that, you're looking at the steel.
And the way the wind blows out there,
Yeah,
Like that'll take that sign right out.
Yes.
That's my concern. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to.
Yeah.
A 4 by
Of
12.
the 6 sites, the furthest away from the road is Capitol Drive. That's where you'd have your 4x12. That's right, say the 4x12 would go. Everything else could go with 4x8 or 4x10
Because
on aluminum posts or steel
like
posts.
you say, Malpeck and Lower Malpeck and those,
They're right on the road.
we have to get them back because if you put a 4x8 sheet up there and you put it on Telespar, it's gonna be down
Because it's not.
because of the wind. And, or the, sorry, not the wind, but because of the plows going by. And they're cutting the windrows back. They don't care. They drive them into the signs and then they just.
Okay. Can you guys take it back to the department?
Yeah, we'll take it back and come budget season, we'll
Yeah.
have a report ready for us to determine the site location.
Thank you.
sizes.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Scott.
Let's move on to reports. The first one being snow alert.
Certainly, thank you. So at a recent HR committee meeting, the committee did support staff recommendation to discontinue the use of snow alerts. So for everyone, the snow alert is effective when our parking ban, which is already an existing bylaw under one of our municipal bylaws, that limits parking, on-street parking in the city between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. The reason why this bylaw is in place is to allow our crews during the winter months to be out salting, plowing, and removing snow without any interference from parked vehicles. The snow alert over the past few years has been a bit of a difficult thing for staff to administer for a number of reasons. One, it is difficult on our staff in terms, especially the weekends, a little more complicated because we have fewer staff in. So our staff, how it works is our staff, our superintendents have to make a decision every day by 2 p.m. on if the snow alert is going to go on or not. And how they make that determination is if there is any possibility that they may have to go out that evening, send trucks out that evening, either salt plow or remove snow. If we think there's a possibility that night, we have to send a message to communications. Communications then have to turn on the snow alert on the website because they're the only ones that have access to it, as well as issue a media request. So this has to be done in 7 days a week. So it puts a bit of strain on people, especially on the weekends. As well as there's some issues around the fact there are some times where we think that nothing's going to happen. But what could happen that evening, for whatever reason, temperatures rise enough that it thaws a bit and it freezes very quickly after midnight. Well, there's some side streets there that get pretty icy that we have to go out and salt. And some prime examples are Bayfield, Douglas, all those narrow streets in and around the core of Charlottetown, where if there's a vehicle on the road, we cannot get our vehicles down. It's just not possible. So we typically have to take it in tow. If the snow alert's not on, although we still have the authority to do it, there are a number of issues that come the next morning. Residents complain that it has always been practice that we issue an advisory the night or the day before, giving everyone as much notice that our trucks might be out. It's a lot of headaches in the morning for admin staff to field those calls. Some mornings they could field 20 calls just on people complaining that we had towed their vehicle the night before. And so it just puts a lot of additional pressure and stress on our staff when we do already have a bylaw in place that allows us to take it in tow regardless because of snow operations. And you look around, especially in Canada, a lot of municipalities also have these same restrictions, and they do not do a mass media thing. They just tell everyone, I know I come from Fredericton, winter months between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. I believe it was, no on-street parking, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Doesn't matter if it's a beautiful day or it's snowing, no parking at all. It doesn't mean we're going to be out there taking and towing. It just means that
You're warned.
exactly owner. It puts the risk on the owner and takes the liability off the city. And so I guess why this is back here is staff support this recommendation from the HR committee meeting to suspend this practice of having to do a snow alert every night during the winter hours. But in saying so, we would like to work with communications and the police. Of course, we deal a lot with the police on this bylaw. We want to have a very rigid media attention to this. A lot of educate the people that we are going to suspend this program if we do, if this is the direction that committee chooses. We will educate the public on why the changes are needed and constantly remind them up until January 1st is when we recommend implementing this change. So I guess that's
When does the snow,
Sir.
sorry, Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
the snow, the on-street parking, when does that kick in?
November 1st, I believe.
November 1st?
Is it 15?
I
Okay.
believe it's the 15th
Yeah, okay.
to the 15th of April.
Okay.
So why would you suggest we wait till January 1? It'd be confusing unto itself.
Sure. I believe from the HR committee, it did come from the elected official in those committees at that time that just that grace period, just to get everyone used to the change. Lots of media attention.
That would be for this year only?
Just
stuff.
for this year only. For future years, no. When the bylaw is in effect, there will be. We still do. I should go back. Every year leading up to the snow bylaw, we always do a media campaign with communications various times, and then there's reminders throughout the year about the no parking bylaw. So we would continue that process each and every year, just changing it from watch out for the snow alert versus the parking bans in effect from this time of year to this time of year.
That's what I was gonna suggest, since it is gonna drop the alert.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of just getting people out there,
Mhm.
like the odd burp in the radio or something in the garden and all that. So then everyone knows.
Mhm.
They can't say, well, I don't know about it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the alert.
Yeah.
And that's no excuse anymore.
And one thing that always does, I'll let Joey speak, sorry Joey, but one thing that when they do go ticket and tow, we work with the police. So we call, our superintendents or staff will call the police department and advise we have these vehicles on the street. And what the police, most nights, when they have the resources, they will try, and it's a reasonable hour of the night, so we started early. They will try to get a hold of the driver, the vehicle owner, and say, can you please move your vehicle? I know sometimes I'm told our staff sometimes will go knock on doors every once in a while and say, we need to move vehicles. So we do try to make every effort possible to
That's
try
right.
not to have ticket and tow. Businesses in the downtown area, the bar areas, we try to keep our staff out of that area until 1 or 2 a.m. And we usually, if we do need to get in there, Joey or whoever else is out that night will go in and talk to the staff and say, hey, can you guys move your vehicles over here? So we will still do that effort. I think it's worked quite well, and most residents are very receptive and appreciate that. So I don't see that we would cease that practice at all. It's just taking that liability off the city that, well, you didn't tell me, well, you knew the bylaw was in place and we,
That's right.
we couldn't get a hold of you and all that, so.
Yeah.
And we have a new practice, as I'm sure you've all noticed in the past year and a half. We are blowing back a whole lot more, trying to keep the windrows off the roads. It keeps our catch basins open, but we can't do it with cars parked. It could be a perfect night for us to be out blowing, and there's no snow alert, or it's not on, there's cars everywhere. We get a portion of the road done, and we have to go to another portion, where this way we can go, and it's served as well, keeping our catch basins open.
As the new chair of HR, do you have anything to add here?
I was actually on the committee, not chair, when we discussed this, and as Mr. Adams said, it's really not going to change things very much for the residents, except for that the onus is back on the resident to make that kind of that common sense judgment call. Okay, I should be okay, or I'm not. So, and I see Public Works out all the time, and police there's very seldom a car gets towed because everyone does so much work to try and track them down. So I don't see that changing. So I think this will alleviate almost a step that just doesn't seem necessary.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't even look at that snow alert.
Yeah. And most people, or all people, have an alternate place to put their car during the winter months. It's not, like right now, they probably have arrangements made. So really what they're choosing between is parking on the street or parking in their rented spot that they've found around the corner or whatever.
And a lot of times it's somebody had company.
Yeah.
And maybe then somebody said, well, I better leave my vehicle and I'll get a cab home. But that's the risky part that
That's right.
people need to come up with.
The parking garages are open around the clock. They can park them in the park. If they're going to a bar downtown, you can park your car in there at 8 o'clock, as long as you have it out by 7 in the morning. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
So-
And ampersons.
Pardon?
It
Yeah,
hampers us.
so put your car in the park, in one of the parkades.
I know when I spoke to the staff and communications, they said it is a very, it's an awkward
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
And and they said it's not working well.
Okay. Let's try this. That's cool, eh? Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much, folks.
Or just
Victoria Park
PSAs
Bike Lane.
before it starts probably, eh?
Yeah.
Correct, and as recommended, our PSAs would be for to January 1st, just to give
Correct.
everyone,
Yeah.
so that we can say we did everything we did to
Buffer.
advise the public of these parking bylaw changes, and how, or not the parking bylaw changes, but how we are going to put these, or practice the bylaws, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yes, so that'd be our recommendation.
Okay.
Let's talk about Victoria Park.
Do we need to put a motion for,
Probably should.
yeah?
Okay. Okay, would anyone like to move a motion?
With the parking?
About the parking?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that we do as Scott will fill in the blanks. Yeah.
Phase
Thank
out
you,
what,
Acting
phase
Chair.
out what?
Phase out the,
Solar.
The snow,
just so we
just
just
gonna
finish,
do
you know,
PSAs.
discussing, you know,
PSAs.
he'll fill in the appropriate language. Discussion, none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Unanimous. Now can we move on to Victoria Park Bike Lane?
Thank you. So this was at, this issue was brought up at the last Parks and Rec Committee meeting. And there was a motion supported by the committee, Parks and Rec Committee, to bring this to Public Works as it impacts us as well. So there was a request from the, I guess now former chair of that committee, to make the Victoria Park bike lane, or I guess we're calling it the active transportation lane at the moment, open year round as a pilot this year. So we've had a chance to look at it, and there are, not that we're opposed to it, but the lane itself is not set up for snow removal as is. How we improve safety for the users of that lane is we have a flexible post along the front of the
Playground.
pool area, correct? We have large planters all along the way, so drivers can't get confused and go down the wrong way. So having these safety features in place are there for the users, to protect the users. If we were to try to do any type of snow removal in the winter months, we would have to remove all that because it would either go missing or be damaged. So the way the bike or the roadway is constructed in a way that we have to put in safety features, there'd be no way to keep those safety features all year round. And so based on that, plus the amount of snow that they get down there, and Joey can attest that the amount of snow that comes down there, it's quite difficult to keep that open. And so try to have those safety features in place, try to move them. It's just logistically, it would be a nightmare to try to keep that open in the winter months. So it's not recommended by Public Works to proceed with the pilot project at this time, to keep that open for this winter.
So the closure of roads, Mr. Kelly, is the responsibility of Public Works or police?
They have consultation with police,
Yeah.
to make sure that there's no issues with them, but for the most part, it usually falls under public.
Well, it's under the traffic bylaw, which is now being, I think we had the first reading
Yeah,
to
we
be
did.
Public Works in consultation with police. But any traffic relation, any traffic related thing, I'm constantly talking with
Okay.
with Officer Kaiser now anyway. But yeah, from a winter operations standpoint, it just doesn't logistically make sense for us to recommend it.
And it's engrossed in the bylaw, the dates. Back in April, that was a special circumstances.
COVID-19.
So, yeah, so what we're talking about here is an amendment of the bylaw if we were going to open it year round. So
Correct.
we would need a resolution to status quo the bylaw rather than making any amendments. Is that what you're coming from?
Correct.
Why would there need to be an
No.
amendment to a bylaw?
Because
It's
in the
imposed-
bylaw,
Please.
it prescribes when it closes.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
closing and opening dates are in the bylaw.
It's
Oh,
in,
really?
it is, yeah.
So
So-
it's an active transportation lane between April 1st? No.
April
we
1,
moved
April
it
1,
to
October
April
31.
This year,
May.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh,
May 1st, thank you, till November 1st.
Did we change the bylaw when we opened it, or was it?
No, we provided an exception to the rule.
So why can't we provide an exemption for a pilot project for the rule?
Because we're not discussing the pilot project.
Oh.
We're discussing, this is going to be the way it is, or not the way it is, you know what I mean? There's nobody's mentioned pilot project today.
Yeah, they said that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they called it a pilot project.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
called
So
it
it's-
for this year to see if it would work.
Okay?
I still sit on Parks and Recreation. Our last recreation meeting, and I was against it, so.
But I think what Mr. Adams is saying is, it's not possible to go through a winter.
Exactly.
The
yeah.
safety barriers that are in place, in order to move those safety barriers, you have to take the bucket off the loader, put the set of forks on, move it out of place, plow, take the bucket back, or put the
Yes.
bucket on, plow, take all that back off, put the forks back on, put that in place.
And then the challenging part is to dig the big planter out, because
Right.
some snowstorms, with the blowing snow
Right.
down there, that would just cover that if we left it until the end of the snowstorm. So it's just logistically not simple.
Before I beat this dead horse to death, can I just ask one more question?
Sure, sure.
Let's pretend we had to do this. What would be a workaround? See, what about those sidewalk plows? One on one side, one on the other, because you don't need cars anymore, so you just make it pass. So all the infrastructure could stay, and you did your little sidewalk tractors.
The challenge would be down there, so we would have to have all those some type of safety device in there. And because it's so wide open, it gets a lot of blowing snow. So we have our large trucks that have to go through there and clear that out and break wind. Our little sidewalk machines would likely struggle to break through that. It would be a significant amount of snow. It would take a while to get through. It would not be a good use of them in that location. It would be a challenge, yes.
Just that, we need them on our sidewalks.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
You need
Yeah,
buses.
yeah.
Phone calls from sidewalks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
around schools
Yeah.
and things.
If this was ever something we wanted to look at long-term, as society gets more into active transportation year-round, walking and snowshoeing, is it something we could look at as a long-term idea? Maybe there's new equipment out there that could be used. You know, other cities do have these one-way parks, just even if it's something we could keep on our back burner for down the road, maybe?
Chair, we've talked, or myself, I talked with the manager of Parks and Rec, and they did at one time do a master plan for Victoria Parkway. And we have talked about the possibility of updating that plan, looking at what options based on the right-of-way we have through there to try to fit things in, because some areas are tight. And that is definitely a part of that discussion, part of those preliminary discussions we've had with Parks and Rec on that. So, yes, it is in the back of our mind, and we do see the value in it.
Sure.
But just the way the park is set up right now is just not feasible.
Yeah, great, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I did read these minutes, and it said that the membership of Parks and Rec Committee agreed, it was worded in such a way that they're sending it forth to Public Works, and the members of Parks and Rec agreed with that, which left you with the impression maybe that they agreed with closing the roadway, when in fact what they were agreeing
Agreed
to
getting
fill
that-
forward to us.
Getting
Yeah,
a
yeah.
separate thing, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that makes sense,
Okay.
thank you.
And one note on it, footnote is the parks that, when we had that meeting, were not in favor
Right.
of having that road closed for the winter.
Mhm.
Okay.
Parks and Recreation made that recommendation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
The
Council
staff.
Field said it went through.
No.
No, they agree.
Well, they made the recommendation that it really wouldn't work, because of all the, like down by the playground, the pools and all that area, the same things that Scott just described, and then yeah, that was it. So then we approved, there's only me and Councilor Twigler and Councilor Jerome was on the phone, but we agreed to move it on to Public Works.
Yeah.
That's the
There was
thing.
only 3 people there that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we agreed on.
And the minutes, the Parks and Rec minutes didn't reveal what Councillor Durong's position was, but it did reveal that Councillor Ramsey said he was not in favor of it at
But he
that
was in
time.
favor of getting at least another opinion.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
Right,
But we don't know what Councillor Durong said or thought.
No, he agreed to move it on to
Yeah,
Public Works.
but he
for more
didn't have any
information.
opinion on closing or not closing.
No.
Therefore, this brings us down to the nub of the whole, do we want the bylaw to stay the way it is? Is that what we need, Peter, to keep it all?
Bylaws already in place.
Yeah, so do we have to do anything further other than
No,
carry
no,
on?
no.
Do we need a resolution of this committee?
Could we just acknowledge in the minutes that,
It was discussed.
that it was discussed that at a future date, we could, look at the Victoria Park plan?
Yeah.
Does that fall under this committee or Parks and Rec?
It would be a joint venture.
A joint venture,
Yes,
yeah, so even if that could just be reflected in the minutes,
Yeah.
something that we'll look at.
So that would require a public meeting to amend the Victoria Park bylaw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Quite clear in there, like we did for the docks.
Yeah.
So it would require that. And Mr. Chair,
But not at this time.
not at this time. And just to go back to when we made the exception to open earlier, that was a provision made by council.
Yeah,
It was a temporary provision.
COVID.
So next year, the bylaw will apply to May 1st.
Yeah.
But if we want to move it ahead because
Same
COVID is
thing.
into its 3rd or 4th wave,
Same thing.
we
Yeah,
can ask.
that's right.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, thank you, folks, so we're clear on that?
Yes.
Okay. We move on to the tenders then, snow clearing of municipal properties. Mr.
Thank
Hayes?
you, Chair. So yes, we have 3 resolutions for community day. First one is just our biannual snow clearing municipal properties. Typically, this tender goes out every 2 years. And these contractors will bid on, we put all the municipal buildings on it, except for Maclear, which our own crews do that. And various individuals from around the city, they bid on it based on where they're located or anything like that. So we received a number of bidders on various buildings, and here are the results of the low bid for these locations. And just keep in mind, typically how we do administer, there is a clause in those resolutions that are in those tenders so that we have the right to extend that for a second year if both parties agree to the same price.
Okay. Anybody have any issue with that tender, the snow
Sherwood
clearing?
Civic Building.
Pardon?
The Sherwood Civic Building.
Yep. That is the Maple,
Fire Station 2? Or no?
no, I think that's Maple,
Maplewood Road?
the
Cody Banks?
Cody Bank, or,
Oh.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Oh, the parking lot there.
yeah. Correct.
yeah, that's
Okay.
right, okay.
All right, anybody else have any issues with that?
Good.
So do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Seconder?
You can
I'll
second it.
Moved by Councilor Ramsey, seconded by Councilor Yankoff, that the it's referred to as the snow clearing of municipal properties tender be accepted as presented. Discussion? No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Thank you. Northridge Parkway Old Fashioned Lanterns.
So this another tender that recently went out is for the addition of Northridge old-fashioned lighting on Northridge Parkway between the roundabout and the first road there at Andrews Court. We had 3 bidders and a little bit of Hanson's of 106,500 plus applicable taxes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that, folks?
I have a question.
Uh,
So, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Northridge Parkway, so from the roundabout to the first street going into Andrews Court,
Yeah,
and they're going on both sides.
that's
For
correct.
flashing lights?
Yes.
Is this, have we approved this in the capital budget?
When we went to put this tender together, I think Peter can confirm that, but this was the location discussed at capital budget. I don't think it's specifically named in the capital budget, but what I was instructed at the time was this was the location that was discussed.
So in the capital budget, is it listed as
There-
old-fashioned lanterns?
There is an old-fashioned lantern light item. There's 2 of them, actually. There's one for our new and one for upgrades, yes. And this would be, we would use both accounts to pay for this.
Oh, so you're using both, not one? So
Right.
you're using new, and what was the other one?
And upgrades, yes, so we're upgrading and replacing. yes.
And was this submitted by the council from the area? Or was this a recommendation?
Again, when we put this tender together, I was instructed that this was discussed at the capital budget discussion. That's what I was instructed.
I just recall it superficially, from a high level, old-fashioned budget, or the old-fashioned lights.
Well, your linear meters would be, for that stretch from the roundabout to Andrews Court, would be, 300, 400 meters?
Yeah, it's not a crazy long stretch, no.
And it's a wide street at that point.
Correct, that's why it has to be double posted on either side, because it's such a wide street to get enough light coverage, yeah.
I just don't remember. Okay, so do you know what's in the new budget? Like, is it 106? Or?
So in the two accounts, there's 75,000 both.
So you have to add on to this?
So how our capital, or how the program works is they're in the same, forget what it is, but they can roll up. So they can combine to be, because they're under the same heading.
That's what I mean, so 75, 75, or is
Yeah.
it 75?
So it'd be 75 and 75, so we have 150 in total under the LED upgrade program.
Is there any other wards that are ever looking for that, or did you ever think about that? Because I don't see any of them in any other wards.
Right, and we, like I say, at the time, it was discussed at capital budget, that's where we're instructed. Staff, we've always been looking at just the downtown core, around the parks, around the squares, to keep that historical feeling. But again, like I say, I was advised that this was discussed at the capital budget time for these funds.
Advised by Mr. Kelly?
Yes, correct.
Oh, who's advised you, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, it was at the discussion, Your Worship. It was at the budget discussion.
Back last February? I must have been away, because I don't remember that. Okay, just wanted a clarification on it.
Okay, any further discussion? Do I have a mover?
Sure. Moved.
Moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Ramsey, that the, who is it, Hanson? Hanson Electric?
Correct, yeah.
Be awarded the old-fashioned lights for, is it Northridge Parkway?
So just for the minutes, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, so this was discussed at the capital budget last
Yeah.
So these,
February.
these
And-
items for discussion, so I don't know if there was actual locations at the time. but
No,
there's something
no, there
was
weren't,
discussed,
because 75 was discussed,
Mhm.
but not location.
but these
So
items were there
you gave the advice to Scott about where the location would be, based on what?
based upon the amounts that were into.
No, but how did you figure this location? Did this just residents from the Northridge Parkway call you, and we get lights up here?
I don't know where they go, Your Worship.
But I'm just trying to find out how it got there, because I know there are some other sites that we're looking at, and if we have to replace any of these old-fashioned lights, we're gonna be short money, or not have, we'll have 45,000 left in the budget.
Like I say, it wasn't, Public Works did not recommend this, we did not choose the location. I was advised I was chosen at capital budget.
But that's my point, if the engineers didn't choose it, or Mo Carmichael didn't choose it, where did the choice come from? Did it come from the council from the area?
I guess it was talked about at capital budget. I wasn't in the room when council met during the
We
capital
sit
budget. so-
on finance.
Yeah.
I remember the budget amounts, 75, but I don't remember location, because
Location.
the council from Ward 4 is looking at something going up University Avenue from Houston to Allen. Like, at some point in time, that is downtown core. But though, that means that'll require lights to, the wiring to go underground.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all we know is that it's going to Northridge Parkway, and we don't know how that site was chosen. It's just-
Would it be appropriate to just defer it until we got a little more information, just for the next meeting?
Whatever the folks think.
I'd just like to get more, because you know what, these requests are being made by councillors, I know they are.
Okay.
And I don't know for you, Councillor Yankoff, but I know in some other parts of the city, especially if we're trying to beautify
Yeah.
University Avenue from Houston to
Well,
Allen,
I'm downtown, so I have them all downtown.
not all.
No, but they're replacing them as they go.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's the downtown, so I don't really get any requests for lights.
Mr. Chair, as mover, I'd like to just defer to get more information.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Sure.
Is that all right with the committee?
Yep. Can you request, who, okay.
Acting chair?
Finance.
Yeah.
See where that's.
Take it back to Finance Committee. Okay. Defer to Finance. Okay, thank you. Okay, can we move on to Nash Lane, Ellen Creek Drive connection? Councilor Adams?
Oh gosh. So Nash Lane, Ellis Creek, I think everyone's familiar with this location, just off Beach Grove Road. Both streets are dead end with no turnarounds at the end. It's been an issue for a number of years, especially for plow trucks. Any large trucks trying to get down there or fire, they are not connected. There is one small lot that's in between them. So at capital budget time, it was discussed and it is noted in the budget to do this work. Now, the bit of the issue that we had with this tender, so we went to public tender, closed 2 weeks after it went public. We had no bids, unfortunately. We were advised by finance, I had a discussion with finance, how do we proceed? They recommended, the finance manager recommended to go directly to contractors and see how many can get quoted on this. So we had our consultant reach out to various contractors and we were able to get 3 quotes on the work. And they're all included in the package, the 3 quotes. So we have the lowest one, low bid of Landmark, for the work at $67,621 plus applicable taxes. So yes, so it is not within our bylaws per se for procurement because we did not get any bids, unfortunately. And like I say, after that issue, we did have a discussion with the manager of finance and he advised to go for quotes and bring it to our committees to see if they're comfortable with approving this and moving forward with this project.
Okay. It's well needed. There's small families up there. I've been out in the area. It's Councilor Rivard's area, I think, or I know. Big trucks, oil trucks, garbage trucks backing up because they can't go like any other subdivision through and be gone. And it's a backup, turnaround. It's just not safe, especially with small children around.
Right.
Anyway, do we have any questions on this particular issue?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilor Mayor Brown, second by Councilor Yankoff, that the landmark construction or landmark be awarded the work to be done at Nash Drive. You guys can print it up with the proper words. It's been moved by Councilor Yankoff, did I say? Who seconded it?
Moved by.
Oh,
Moved by Mayor Brown.
moved by Mayor Brown, second by Councilor Yankoff. I was wondering, where did the other person go? All discussion? No discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to introduction of new business, we have the new entrance at UPEI.
Just wanted to get a,
Sure.
Mr. Chair.
Sure.
This morning I met with Dr. Alla
Yeah.
and Jackie Podger.
Yes.
They were trying to get a date to do an opening for the new entrance into the university. This is the 3rd entrance.
Yes.
And I spoke to our manager, Scott Adams, the left turns lane going into the university. It's a combined lane, so it's throughway, left turn, and then we have a throughway, and then right into
Dedicated right.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but that's going in there. But we're not able to give a pass on it because the medians that there are just some issues. I'm just wondering, Scott, can you just educate us on what we can?
Let me bring up the email here.
You got the drawing there?
Yeah, it will be here. So hopefully everyone can see that. So this was the plan. I guess I'll start back. We met with UPI back in February of this past year on this proposal, which we agreed with that it was no issue. And part of the conditions set out and the understanding by UPI was the fact that whoever their engineering consultant, which they had chose, I believe,
Coles
Coles and Associates, They had to meet tax standards, so Transportation Association of Canada, their standards, as well as a few other conditions. And one was to work with our traffic signal consultant to make sure all the hardware could work, all the loops would be in the road. And two, the other one is the center median. The median, the goal is to have this median, and you can see it up here, is what we call a pedestrian refuge. It is such a wide crossing of 5 lanes. It's becoming a recommendation to put these medians in as a pedestrian refuge, so that as a pedestrian, you have a bit of a safety net halfway through across, because no one wants to be stuck in the middle of traffic and someone's not paying attention and you have nowhere to go but stand in the middle of the road. So they agreed to meet those conditions. So they took it off, sent this drawing, and we said it looked like everything could work based on the geometry. But we said, again, it's still at them and their engineer to make sure everything's up to guidelines, up to standards, and will fit within the footprint that they need to do. And any adjustments to the roadway is at their cost. They agreed to all those. They had taken the project, administered the whole project all of themselves. We did not get involved, but we were there if they needed any issues or had any clarification questions. So now out there, as you can see, what the proposal and what we agreed to was a dedicated left. So this is this would be up the north side, so the mall's way over here. This is heading southbound down to town. So they're proposed to have a dedicated left turn, a dedicated through and right movement. Well, out there they do not have that now. They have we don't know who made the decision, but for whatever reason they painted a right turn lane. The outside lane is a through left lane. The lane configurations are completely improper. And like I say, they had not communicated with the city whatsoever. They had I showed up one day, or I drove through the area, I should say, one day, and they had this lane configuration. And now they're trying to open it. And we said, and I did say in my previous response to them, we could permit a temporary opening. They would have to do adjustments later on in the future to make this intersection work, but we would never permit a through left lane. And the reason why is the traffic load here. There is more than enough traffic to warrant a dedicated left turn lane, which was proposed. Because if you have that through left, what happens is you can't give a protected left turn phase. So everyone knows when you're at a light and you have a dedicated left turn lane, you get the left arrow. You cannot do that with this configuration, how it is now. So the concern is we'd have someone trying to turn left and a big queue of traffic behind them, which we do not want on University Avenue whatsoever. So we said we would permit them to open it if we denied them left turns. And now they're very unhappy that we're suggesting that. They want us to just literally go out there and change all the signal timings and all that to make it work. And like I say, right now, last a discussion I had with them, it seemed like they're trying to put the blame on myself and the city. But as I like to remind them, this was their project. They had their own management team and engineering team that was working on this project. We gave them the rules and regulations how to meet the plans, and this is the plan that they provided to us that seemed to appear that should work. That has the lane configuration that needs to happen there. Everything lines up very well, but out in the field today, it's not like that at all. And I don't even think they put any of the loop detectors in that need to go in to make this happen as well.
And
so
what?
The loop detectors. So with this configuration that they have proposed here, the loop detectors are not the same as what they are in the road now. So that would all have to change as well to make the actual traffic actuation happen for the signals. So there's a lot of issues currently with how it is laid out in the field at the moment. And so that's where the issue is.
So
These
these loop detectors are on their road, their new road,
So,
right?
there's actually loops, so these are stop bars.
Yeah,
At each stop bar, you have a loop detector right in front of it, and then
Yeah.
you have a secondary one back here as a backup.
Yeah.
So you have 2 loop detectors at each location. And so essentially, when a vehicle drives over, it's like a magnet. So when a large metal object goes over it, it kind of, there's a current going through the loop, and the current is interrupted when this large mass goes over top of it, and that's the pulse that sends to the traffic controller that says, there's a vehicle there. So,
That's on University Avenue.
correct.
What about the one to Charlottetown Rural and the one into the university?
So there were always loops on the Charlottetown rural side and north and south of the intersection.
Yeah.
But over here, there were only ever two loop detectors, or 2 lanes of loop detectors,
Yeah.
because that's all we had for lanes there. But now that they added a 3rd lane and changed the lane width,
Yeah,
the loops are not aligned.
okay.
Just to interrupt, who's they?
UPEI.
So UBI changed the city's roads?
Yes, we gave them permission to implement a new intersection upgrades
Okay.
to allow left turns, to allow them to connect their road into a city facility, and as well as give them a left turn lane.
Okay.
So this was brought back to the committee, I want to say in February or March of this year, and it was agreed to. It was at UPEI's expense. They hired the engineer, they hired the contractor, they do the work to our standards.
So shouldn't the rest of it be at their expense then too?
Absolutely, yeah, but they believe that we're holding them up.
And the left-hand lane that comes down from the Peter Pan corner into the university, turning left into the university, it was made possible by putting a 3rd lane over, turning,
Yes.
coming the other way, coming into Charlottetown Rural. See the shaded area there?
Yeah.
That's a new lane. That new lane,
The shaded area is the extra asphalt that they had
Yeah.
to put in. It's about an extra 1.5 meters that they had to fit,
Yeah.
to fit the 3 lanes in, yes.
so it's definitely their issue. It's their issue to,
Yeah, like it's funny though, Scott, when this all started, I had Mike out because Mike was
Yeah.
chair, and I had Terry Bernard out because Terry works that area
Mhm,
and all that. And coming into town,
Mm-hmm.
like at that time, we didn't even know they're gonna go across the street because I had to do it there
Right, yeah.
with the residents too there. They didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we only thought it was gonna come out to where their property ends.
Mhm.
And then if they're coming out University Avenue towards Charlottetown Mall, they'd have to turn right and go in that road. But then all of a sudden, they're right across the road,
Right.
and they're on the other people, and they're still on our property. But
Yes, yeah,
as you know, we met with
correct, yeah.
4 residents out there,
Mhm.
and things like that. But I still can't fathom, I know it's there now, but why, when you're coming from Charlottetown Mall, you need a left-hand turn going in there?
For the university?
Yeah.
Well, they have one just up the road going into the university at Cary.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is that when we first heard about it, is that was gonna be an exit road coming out that new road.
No, they made it as a signalized
Yeah,
intersection.
it was,
That's what we
from-
passed here at
yeah.
this committee.
Yeah, from when I was involved, from
Yeah.
day one,
It was
for
always
February, it was an in and out, it was not just an exit.
Right in, right out, no.
Oh, yeah, because I thought they were gonna be able to go in it,
Mhm.
like when you're going,
Oh, I see.
Out
Yeah,
University
yeah,
Avenue.
I see, yeah.
Yeah.
so
Which they
then
can,
when they
of course,
showed the
but-
plans where you're turning left in there, so they're added on another lane.
Correct, yeah,
Am I right?
correct, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Did you
so
get
that's
to see this, Jerry?
yes, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know the right only lane into Charlottetown Road?
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't line up with your lane going southbound
Right.
on the other side of the lights. It's off. So the right turn will, keep following that right turn.
Yeah.
Don't do the right turn, you're running to the guardrail.
Yeah.
And then over the hill,
Okay.
into Hermitage Creek, and God knows where from there.
Yeah, from Cyrus then, Cyrus CAA, come and get you.
So so what the university is saying that the city, it's the city's problem. And
So you never touched anything.
And I came back and I asked Mr. Adams, and that's why the reason I wanted to bring it up at this meeting, and it being live streamed, is that I was told we hired Coles,
Yeah.
and we were overseeing Coles, but Coles was hired by UPEI,
UPEI.
and the engineer is Nasby Lowen.
Okay.
So,